It's July. We know things are a bit slow in the football world, but let's get the football gods on Atlanta's side going into this year. Like today's video, if you want to see the Falcons win the NFC South, it can't hurt. So why jinx it? Just hit that thumbs up button. Coming up on today's show, we've got some bold predictions for the Atlanta Falcons in 2023. Now, keyword is bold, so we're definitely swinging for the fences on some of these. And it's a mixture of predictions of things I would do versus things I think will happen that I might not agree with, but I do think they have some weight to it. So let's start things off with a big home run here, and that would be the Falcons trading for Jerry Jeudy. The former first-round pick out of Alabama has not necessarily flourished so far in Denver. Ended the year pretty well last year, but the Falcons, we know, you might have heard before on this channel, could stand to add another wide receiver, right? I think Terry at this point has gotten the message loud and clear. I'm not sure if this is a trade that happens in the preseason or in the regular season. I'd be more inclined to believe it would be an in-season trade right before the deadline if things in Denver are not going well and Atlanta's like, we're first in the division, we could go on a run, we get a home playoff game, let's add another offensive playmaker like Jeudy, and let's surprise some people and really go on a run no one expects us to, because you get those runs in the NFL. See the Bengals or the 49ers the last couple of years in the Super Bowl. I think Jeudy would be a perfect fit, though, for Atlanta. It'd be a very complimentary type of receiver to what they have in Drake London, who's kind of like a basketball player in pads, right? A huge frame. He's very physical at the point of attack. Whereas Jeudy, he's a great route runner. He's got great speed and whatnot. Last year, 972 yards and 6 touchdowns. Those aren't eye-popping numbers, but Jerry Jeudy ended the year on a high note. You look at what he did the last 6 weeks of the season, 523 yards and 3 touchdowns. If you take those 6 weeks and stretch them out over the course of an entire season, Jerry Jeudy is a 1,000-yard receiver and then some, right? 1,400 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, again, that's just taking the last 6 weeks, dividing it down and multiplying it by 17, and that's what you get over the course of a season. But if you're able to find that guy for a second-round pick, that's a pretty good use of a second-round pick right there. I think Jeudy's an up-and-coming receiver. Denver picked up his fifth-year option, so if a team were to trade for him, they would have him on his rookie deal for 2023 and 2024. And a wide receiver room with Drake London and Jerry Jeudy, and then Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts. Talk about an all-time young core putting together. And then if Desmond Ridder ends up being your franchise guy, you're going to have one hell of a nucleus, all under the age of 25 years old. In a division that's kind of cheeks right now, that's there for the taking. This would be a very exciting trade for the Falcons. So let me know, would you trade for Jerry Jeudy? If you were Terry Fontenot, Denver wanted a first-round pick initially, it sounded like, going into the draft. I'm not sure if they never got the first-round pick or if they decided and got cold feet not to trade him away. But if Denver were to have a slow start to the year and they trade off a star player like they did with Bradley Chubb last year or Von Miller the year before, Jerry Jeudy could be for the taking, and Atlanta could make some sense. My second bold prediction is the Falcons trade Cordarrelle Patterson away. This is not me trying to get what I want here. I personally would hold on to Cordarrelle Patterson, but I can also see the writing on the wall a little bit of Cordarrelle Patterson last year of his contract, decent cap hit, so you could save some money, roll it over to next year. And this running back room has Bijan Robinson and Tyler Allgeier ahead of him. So if Cordarrelle Patterson's not going to get a lot of looks coming out of the backfield, okay, well, he's got his special teams value. But the new special teams rules don't really benefit Cordarrelle Patterson a ton, since teams can just fair catch a kickoff and bring it out to the 25. So Cordarrelle Patterson does have some value. He is a catalyst, right? He brings a certain level of spark to an offense. He can turn things around on a single snap. But I'm not sure Atlanta wants to pay their third running back $5.5 million. That's more than a lot of teams starting running backs, right? So Cordarrelle Patterson could have some value for another team if they were to lose their running back, and Atlanta knows we're very deep at running back. We could afford to move on from CP84 and get a pick in return. I still would rather hold on to him because you're not going to get a lot for him, and it's not my money. It's Arthur Blank's money, and I don't mind spending his money. So why not keep him for the locker room to help Bijan and Tyler Allgeier out a little bit? Third bold prediction, the Falcons win the NFC South. This one, is that bold? I mean, the division is definitely wide open. The Bucs have had it for the last couple of years, but we know that without Tom Brady, I don't have a ton of faith in Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield taking this thing by the horns. So that leaves the Carolina Panthers with a rookie quarterback and the New Orleans Saints. But let's go through why Atlanta will win the South. One, I think the best head coach belongs in Atlanta, right? Not a big fan of what's-his-face in New Orleans going into his second year, Dennis Allen. And then you've got Todd Bowles now down in Atlanta, and you've got Frank Reich out in Carolina. Arthur Smith, for what he's had to work with, which is not a ton of talent on the defensive side of the football and inconsistent quarterback play the last 2 seasons, he has put together some very competitive teams. So if I had to pick a head coach in the NFC South, I'd pick Arthur Smith. Second reason, Panthers stink. Case closed. I mean, that's really all there is to it, right? Panthers with a rookie quarterback and an offensive line that's a little bit meh. Some nice players on defense, but Panthers stink. Third reason, the Bucs stink. These teams stink. There's just no other way around it. Derek Carr, he stinks too. He's not that good. If there is a quarterback that I think is right in the mix of overrated but looks good in blind quarterback resumes, it's Derek Carr. But at the same time, if you ask a fan from all 32 teams, would you rather keep your quarterback or Derek Carr? A vast majority would say, keep our quarterback. Plus, I don't want a franchise quarterback that cries. I'm not quite sure what the details were, but just bad look right there for the Saints. And finally, Desmond Ridder will be good. That's all. You just need him to be good. He doesn't need to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. With his defense improving in the offseason through a lot of additions and a great ground game, he just needs to be that good. Good at handing the football off, good at making reads, good at not turning the football over. And for that reason, I'm a big believer in Desmond Ridder can do the job here to get Atlanta to the top of the division. Now, before we get on to the rest of my bold predictions, we still have the Atlanta Falcons retro throwback t-shirts on sale, by the way, at chatsports.com/ATL retro. So improve your Falcons wardrobe. It's always good to add a new shirt or two to the closet. So get your very own Falcons retro t-shirt when you use our link. It's in the comments and the description of today's video. My fourth bold prediction is that Bijan Robinson will win Offensive Rookie of the Year. This one is maybe the least bold of all of them because Bijan might score 15 touchdowns this year. I remember thinking back to before the draft, we talked a lot about who the Falcons should draft. We were all over guys like Christian Gonzalez and Tyree Wilson. But once they picked Bijan, I really started to fall in love with what Arthur Smith, a coach who loves to run the ball, can do with the best running back we have seen come out of college in a long time, in my eyes. Maybe going all the way back to Adrian Peterson, because he is a gifted runner that just doesn't have a weakness. I know that sounds crazy to say, but he's great between the tackles. He's got phenomenal speed. He can read the holes well. He's good in the receiving department as well. 60 receptions for 805 yards in a Texas offense that we know college football offenses do not scheme up a lot to throw to running backs. It's either hand it off or throw it deep, but he still put together some great numbers coming out of the backfield down in Austin. I think Bijan Robinson could get 15 touchdowns this year, 11 on the ground, 4 through the air, and take home Offensive Rookie of the Year. This is probably the most confident prediction I have on today's video after the NFC South one. Those two are neck and neck right there because I do believe those two could be easily true. Fifth and final bold prediction, and maybe the boldest of the bunch after the Jerry Jeudy trade, Kaden Elliss has 10-plus sacks. He was one of the more premier free agent acquisitions for the Atlanta Falcons after Jesse Bates. He might not be a household name, but he has vastly improved over the last couple of years. Following his DC Ryan Nielsen to Atlanta, he comes off a 7-sack season, and before that, just 1 sack in the 3 previous seasons combined. So I'm not quite sure if this is going to be a free agent signing. Atlanta fans look back and go, we got fleeced on, he had 1 good year, and we overpaid him. Or This was an all-time bargain. We got a guy who had 7 sacks last year for not a ton of money, and he's going to explode onto the scene now that he gets to be a full-time starter, something he wasn't until his last year in New Orleans, and he builds off that and improves and only gets better and better, and 7 sacks turns into 10 sacks, and the Falcons fans have their first 10-plus sack player since Vic Beasley half a decade ago. Elliss, in my eyes, will break out this season. I'm very excited to see where Nielsen lines him up. Does he line him up inside, coming on a lot of blitzes? If that's the case, 10 sacks for a blitzing inside linebacker is not easy to do, but he might get creative and move him all across the defense, line him up outside for passing situations, blitz him on 1st and 10 to blow up the running back or get into the backfield and sack the quarterback. But Elliss has the potential to break out for a 10-plus sack season. Now, give me one of your bold predictions. What is it? Is it Kyle Pitts goes off for 10 touchdowns, something like that? Drake London wins Offensive Player of the Year? Maybe. That's pretty bold, no doubt about it. Desmond Ridder secures himself as a franchise quarterback in Atlanta for years to come. Let me know what your bold prediction is down in the comment section. Now, it is time for my favorite portion of the show the last couple of weeks because it's benefited me. It's draft time. After going down 1-0, we have stormed back. And I say we, it's just me and my team, which is me, myself, and I. And I'm taking a 2-1 lead over producer Rolly. Now, today's draft is Atlanta Rappers. Someone commented this suggestion on a previous video. We liked it a lot. So, Rolly, I've got the 1-1 pick, and I went with a crowd pleaser. I took Migos. I took the whole bunch, all 3. I don't want to just, spice them up or anything like that. So, Migos is my 1-1 pick. Definitely speaks to my age and who I grew up really listening to. I remember going to a Migos concert right before their big album dropped in 2016. And I was like, Fight Night, one hell of a song. And then wasn't too much later, a bunch of other bangers dropped.
Yeah, I might actually, the way I go here, PD, is going to show my age a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Because I went with Lil Baby, and...
Our 2-year age gap, by the way.
Yeah, 2-year age gap.
1 or 2 years, yeah.
I'm newer in the music scene, and Lil Baby in the last 2, 3, 4 years has been absolutely popping off. He might not be the OG, but Lil Baby is as hot as anyone right now, one of Atlanta's finest.
Now, hand up, I am not a music connoisseur. Like, I am not someone who listens to a new album when it drops. So I went with a bit of a throwback here, Outkast. You just can't beat it. I mean, they have put out some all-time songs. Andre 4000, Outkast altogether, one of the best Atlanta groups right there.
Yeah, and with my second pick, I went with Future, OG in the game. He has arguably my favorite song of all time in March Madness. He also has, I can't say this word on our show, but F up some commas. That's another really good one. I love Future. He makes some bangers, and OG in Atlanta.
So at this point, I'm sure some people are screaming at their screens right now because T.I. has not been taken. But again, this is just some recency bias, at least on my end. But T.I., like a founding father for Atlanta rappers, if you will. No doubt about it. Him at 5 is a crime. It's an embarrassment for myself, no doubt. But I'm happy to see him on the board.
Yeah, well, at 6, I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah,
I went Ludacris, another OG in the game. Just like, if you really just think Atlanta rappers,
those two should have been 1-2 probably.
The city of Atlanta produces the best and most talented artists in the rap game, the hip and hop game. It's truly amazing. There's a bunch of artists that got snubbed off our list here as we have 2 picks left. But this is like a personal thing for us. But listen, Ludacris is a good pick in my opinion.
To round it out, you couldn't go wrong with Gucci, right? Gucci Mane, one of the better rappers of the last 20 years, undoubted. Dropped some great bars. So Gucci Mane to round out my draft. Migos, Outkast, T.I., and then Gucci Mane. Rolly, your last pick?
Yeah, with my final selection, I went with Young Thug. One of my favorite artists of all time, actually. I really like Jeffrey. I think that came out in 2015, 2016. One of my favorite albums. And one of our new employees here, Tyler Smith, actually believes Young Thug is one of the best rappers of all time. He's got him top 3 of all time, not just Atlanta, in history because of what he did for the city of Atlanta, what he did for up-and-coming artists like Lil Baby, Gunna, Young Thug, classic pick. And I think that one right there is going to win me this draft to even him up at 2-2.
All right, let me know who won this draft, or let us know. Type PD or Rolly in the comment section for whose draft you liked more. We'll update the standings, and we'll get you guys geared up for tomorrow's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.